OK, well, let's return now to the live pictures from that civil memorial service that's taking place for the Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov, because President Putin has arrived. He's expected, I think, to speak shortly. He's currently giving his condolences there to the wife of Andrei Karlov at the moment. These are live pictures. Earlier we did hear from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, too. He described Andrei Karlov as a top professional and a very kind person, and said that he'd actually met him just 3 weeks ago. Well, this memorial service will be followed by a funeral service today at the Cathedral of Christ the Saviour in Moscow before his burial. Incidentally, Mr. Karlov was posthumously awarded the title of Hero of the Russian Federation too. He leaves his son Gennady and wife Marina, who is speaking currently, I think, there with President Putin. So these live pictures then from that civil memorial service for the Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov, who was assassinated on Monday in Ankara. Just to remind you, the Russian ambassador to Turkey, he was 62 years old, a very distinguished career too. He'd been an ambassador to Turkey since 2013 and had enjoyed an extensive career as a diplomat spanning many decades too. He had postings in North Korea and South Korea before he was then posted to Turkey, a position he took up in 2013. On Monday night, just to remind you of events there, he was gunned down while attending an exhibition at an art gallery in Ankara. The assailant there, a former police officer, was subsequently killed by police. Both Russian and Turkish presidents did call the murder a provocation aimed at sabotaging the normalisation of relations between the two countries. So we're currently looking at here of live pictures from a civil memorial service that's taking place in his honour. We do expect President Putin, who has arrived, to be speaking shortly. Of course, we'll be covering that for you. He's currently talking to the ambassador, the late ambassador's wife there, Marina. So, as we say, Mr. Karlov, a man of a distinguished career. He spent many decades as a diplomat. He was posted in North Korea and South Korea too before taking out that post in Turkey, in Ankara, back in 2013. He's since been awarded posthumously to the Hero of the Russian Federation title. Many people have been passing on the condolences and also describing him as a wonderful man. That comment came from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. We also heard from the Foreign Ministry too, saying that he was an outstanding man who did much to counter terrorism and will be remembered in our hearts forever. Just about an hour and a half ago too, we saw Sergei Lavrov there. He was speaking to people attending this memorial. He described Mr. Karlov as a top professional and a very kind person, and even said that it was just 3 weeks ago when he'd spoken to him last, and said that he will be forever remembered. This ceremony, civil ceremony, did start, I would say, about two and a half hours ago. And it's continuing with people who've been giving speeches. We've heard from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. We expect to hear from President Putin very shortly. He has arrived. This ceremony, incidentally, taking place in the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's in central Moscow, and it will be followed by a funeral service that will take place at the Cathedral of Christ the Saviour in Moscow, and then his burial will follow. Many people have been paying tribute to this man, Andrei Karlov. We've heard, as I said, from Sergei Lavrov earlier, describing him as a wonderful man. Also, the spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry has said that he was a man who did so much to try and counter terrorism and will be remembered in our hearts forever too. As you can see, that is the coffin of Andrei Karlov there. Many people have been attending this service this morning. It's continued now for about two and a half hours, I would say, many leaving floral tributes too. Mr. Karlov leaves his wife, Marina, his mother, Maria, and also a son, Gennady. Mr. Karlov himself was 62 years old when he was gunned down on Monday night. That happened in Ankara, as we were saying, at a gallery, at an art exhibition that had opened there, and while he was speaking, he was then gunned down, shot 9 times in the back. He was shot by 22-year-old Mevlut Murt Altintas. He's believed to be a member of the riot police, and said he was carrying out the attack and protests at Russia's involvement in Syria and Aleppo. He himself was then shot dead by police. Well, the day before yesterday, Mr. Karlov's body was returned to Moscow, and now we are having a day in his memory where we've heard from the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov speaking a little early. We are expected to hear from President Putin too shortly, and we'll be going back to that when he does.